They are the most powerful group in the entire school, the F4, a presence no one dares to challenge. Leading them is Thyme, the heir to Thailand's largest business conglomerate. He is arrogant, domineering, and has a strong passion for sports. He's the kind of rich and talented young man who draws admiration from countless girls both in and out of school. Second is M.J., the young master of the world's largest entertainment empire. His parents wield influence in both legal and underground circles, making him the ultimate prince of the underworld. Third is Kdrama, a noble descendant of an ancient Thai family. With parents holding top positions in the government, his background is as prestigious as it gets. Kdrama naturally exudes a princely elegance, but beneath the surface, he's a notorious heartbreaker. His relationships never last more than 3 days, and wherever he goes, he's always surrounded by beautiful women. Fourth is Heir, heir to Thailand's top-ranked medical institution. Not much is known about his background, and he rarely speaks about himself. He is distant, mysterious, and quiet. Together, these 4 boys are not just the most elite students at school, they also hold the greatest authority. They even invented a game called the red card. If someone displeases them, that person receives the infamous F4 red card. Every student in the school gets notified immediately. Receiving a red card means the unlucky person is about to become the target of everyone's hatred and mockery. That's when the nightmare begins. Buckets of water mysteriously spill, flower petals fall in his path, and though no one appears to be near him, the boy finds himself in constant danger. According to the red card rules, no video evidence can be left behind. So, no one bullies openly. Instead, everything is staged to look like accidents, all pushing him step by step toward the abandoned gym. The gym is the only area in the school without surveillance. No phones are allowed, and it's in this hidden corner of the school where the real torment begins. The room quickly fills with students eager to watch the spectacle. Faces glow with excitement, some even clapping, waiting for the visual feast to unfold. Within minutes, the boy is beaten to the ground, unable to stand. He lies helpless in the water, waiting for F4's final verdict. The reason he was targeted? He broke their rule. Disgusted by F4's abuse of power, he secretly recorded footage of their bullying, planning to expose their crimes to the media. But he underestimated them. When confronted with the evidence, Thyme remains calm and unbothered. He mockingly tells the boy to look at his phone. Within seconds, all the video clips the boy worked so hard to record begin disappearing one by one. The boy watches in disbelief, completely devastated. Smirking, Thyme mocks him even further. With just one phone call, he had mobilized the best hacker team in the country. Anything that threatens F4 never sees the light of day online. Defeated, the boy drops to his knees as the crowd cheers wildly. But his humiliation doesn't end there. Fueled by rage, he charges at Thyme and lands a punch. The room instantly goes silent. All eyes are on Thyme, waiting for his reaction. But instead of getting angry, Thyme smiles, and then retaliates with punch after punch until the boy is once again left lying in the water. Satisfied, Thyme turns to leave, but the crowd isn't done. The boy is once again swarmed and beaten by the students, reduced to the school's scapegoat. Cheers erupt all over again. Only Gorya, standing among the crowd, shows sympathy. She's furious at Thyme's cruelty, but under the shadow of F4's power, she stays silent. That very moment is witnessed by a handsome boy in the crowd. Unable to bear the injustice any longer, Gorya runs to the rooftop alone. She vents all her frustration into the sky. If my boyfriend wants to leave this awful place, let him go. Why should I care about F4 anymore? After expressing everything, she feels a rush of relief and satisfaction. What she doesn't realize is that she isn't alone. In the far corner of the rooftop, Heir, one of the F4 members, is quietly watching her. Her unfiltered, fearless attitude catches his attention. At this elite aristocratic school in Thailand, Gorya, a girl from a humble background, has always felt out of place. She finds little comfort, except from one person, Hannah, the new transfer student. The two quietly made a pact: stay low, avoid trouble, and graduate peacefully. That day, Hannah accidentally spilled food on a rich heir's shoes. Unfortunately, The owner of those shoes was none other than Thyme, the most feared figure in the entire school. Terrified, Hannah began to tremble and frantically apologized, begging Thyme to forgive her. She promised she would do anything, if only he would let her go. But Thyme, ever arrogant, extended his foot and demanded that Hannah lick the shoes clean. The surrounding students jeered and encouraged her to do it quickly. Staring at the extended foot, Hannah was filled with despair and began to cry uncontrollably. But then suddenly Gorya snapped. Fueled by anger, she stood up, stormed over to Thyme, and yelled at him in front of everyone. The crowd was stunned. No one had ever dared defy Thyme before. Confronting him was as good as asking for death, but unexpectedly, Thyme didn't get angry. Instead, he laughed and forgave her, surprising everyone in the room. As Gorya turned and walked away, she thought she had escaped punishment because she was a girl. But the very next day, judgment returned in the cruelest form. A message spread through the school. Hannah, the new transfer student and Gorya's only friend, had been dragged to the abandoned gym, the only area without surveillance. There, Hannah was shoved into a puddle of water, and garbage was dumped on her head as a crowd of students watched gleefully. Their excited chants filled the air as they mocked and humiliated her. A male student even pulled out clippers, grabbing Hannah by the hair and threatening to shave her bald. Hannah, powerless and crying, didn't dare fight back. She had offended Thyme, and without his permission, no one would step in. At that moment, just before the clippers touched Hannah's hair, Gorya burst through the door, furious and unafraid. She was the only person brave enough to defend Hannah, and that's exactly what Thyme had wanted. Two birds with one stone. He arrogantly approached Gorya, handed her the clippers, and waited to see what she would do. The crowd erupted with excitement again. But Gorya wasn't backing down. Though she lacked the power to resist, she refused to surrender. And then, to everyone's shock, she made a bold decision. She would do it herself. Her hands trembled as she turned on the clippers. Just then, a calm voice cut through the chaos. It was heir, one of the F4. He walked confidently through the crowd and greeted Gorya like an old friend. Everyone was stunned. His public show of support was clearly meant to protect her. Out of respect for heir, Thyme had no choice but to stand down, and the crowd quickly dispersed, disappointed. Once he was sure Gorya was safe, heir turned and left. Gorya didn't know why he had defended her, but looking into his gentle eyes, she felt a strange warmth in her heart. For a moment, she believed that maybe, with heir's help, she could finally escape Thyme's wrath. But she was wrong. The real nightmare was only just beginning. A few days later, Gorya received the school's most terrifying punishment, the red card of death. She had become the first girl in school history to be given the red card. Trembling, she tore the card off, terrified of what would happen next. She ran, but no matter where she went, the group chat would always reveal her location. Gorya hid in an empty infirmary, but a group of male students still managed to find her. Desperate, she tried to escape through the window. She hadn't gone far when a soccer ball smashed into her with brutal force, knocking her to the ground. As Gorya struggled on the ground, Hannah stood silently in the corner, watching. She didn't come forward to help. Instead, she turned and walked away like she was someone to avoid. Gorya was devastated. She had stepped up to defend others when they needed her, yet now, when she was being targeted, she avoided her as if she was a curse. Suddenly, a bucket of ice-cold water was dumped over her head. Soaked to the skin, she fled, eventually stumbling onto the rooftop, overwhelmed by helpless rage. She shouted into the empty sky, unaware that she had entered a space known as heir's private retreat. When she saw him, she slowly lowered her voice, embarrassed by her outburst and desperate to leave quietly. But as she passed by, heir grabbed her and pulled her to the corner, covering her mouth tightly. A few girls from earlier had followed the trail of water and were searching nearby. With just a few words, heir got rid of them. Gorya was confused. Why would someone like heir, whom she barely knew, help her again and again? He simply told her to stay hidden and avoid making noise. Then, just like that, he walked away. With nowhere else to go, Gorya stayed hidden until nightfall. When she finally gathered her things and prepared to leave, she noticed the security cameras had been deliberately blocked. A sickening feeling crept over her. Moments later, a group of boys dragged her into a janitor's closet. Gorya screamed and struggled, but the more she resisted, the more excited they became. They started groping at her, laughing, taking photos with their phones, threatening to upload them. She fought back with all her strength but was pulled down again, her clothes nearly torn off. Her screams echoed until, suddenly, a figure stormed into the room. Heir. He looked furious as he glared at the group. "Get out," he said coldly. They hesitated. This was a punishment set by F4, and Renrowen was one of them. But no one dared defy him. They backed off and left in silence. Seeing Gorya trembling, barely able to breathe, awakened something in Renrowen. He knew they weren't gone far and could come back. Without a word, he pulled out a lighter and held it up to the fire alarm. In seconds, the sprinkler system activated, drenching the hallway and driving away the boys lurking just outside. Gorya looked at him in disbelief. Soaked and shivering, Renrowen stood beside her, utterly calm. She couldn't understand why someone like him, cold, mysterious, part of F4, would go to such lengths for her. But her heart stirred. That moment, Gorya etched his gentle smile into her memory, something she couldn't forget. Soon after, news of Renrowen's heroic act spread across the school and onto the internet. When Thyme found out, he was furious. In a rage, he kicked his underlings into the pool. Though he was often arrogant and unruly, even Thyme couldn't tolerate how disgusting their actions had been. MJ and Kevin came by to mock the situation, saying, "Come on, she's just a girl." But Thyme remained firm, his pride unshaken. He was the kind of person who couldn't be swayed by anyone. After that day, the school returned to a strange kind of calm. It was as if nothing had ever happened. But Gorya couldn't forget Heir. She found herself constantly thinking about him. Why was someone so gentle mixed in with monsters like Thyme? Why was he part of F4? No matter how she tried to understand it, she couldn't make sense of him, and yet, she couldn't stop thinking about him either. She often found herself unconsciously returning there, hoping to see him again. And sure enough, Heir appeared once more. Gorya instinctively fixed her hair, suddenly feeling shy. Gathering her courage, she apologized to Renrowen for all the times he had stepped in to help her during moments of crisis. Renrowen simply gave a faint smile and continued quietly sketching. That brief moment of companionship stirred jealousy in three girls who had been watching from afar. They quietly began scheming something in the shadows. That night, an unexpected visitor came to Gorya's door. It was Hannah, her former best friend. With guilt all over her face, Hannah apologized, admitting she knew Gorya was targeted with the red card because of her. Yet she had cowardly chosen to hide instead of helping. Now, filled with regret, she didn't want to lose Gorya as a friend. Seeing the pitiful Hannah in front of her, Gorya's kind heart couldn't turn her away. She forgave Hannah, and over shared drinks of her favorite soy milk, the two made up and became best friends again. That's how simple girls' friendships can be. As Gorya turned around, she spotted Heir standing alone. She couldn't believe she was running into her crush again so coincidentally. Gorya quickly put down her soy milk and happily walked over to him. Renrowen smiled and pointed to a poster of Fujitang Jing, a famously talented and elegant upperclassman from a noble family. She was kind, beautiful, and also Gorya's idol. Just as Gorya finished admiring the poster and turned around, Renrowen suddenly leaned in close. The intimate distance made Gorya's heart race wildly. It turned out he was only wiping a bit of soy milk from the corner of her mouth. Embarrassed, Gorya began explaining nervously, feeling flustered. This was Thailand's most prestigious elite school. The students drove limited edition luxury cars, lunched on Kobe beef flown in daily, and the boys played only the most expensive gaming consoles. The girls wouldn't even carry a handbag worth less than 100,000 baht. Even a simple dessert here cost a small fortune. Everyone in the school was a wealthy second-generation heir. Except Gorya. Coming from a humble background, she never socialized and simply wanted to graduate peacefully. But for that reason, she became a target of constant bullying by the rich girls. Things got worse when she unintentionally offended the entire school, and especially the feared leader of S4, Thyme. From that moment, She became the public enemy of the campus. One day, a group of boys stole Gorya's shoes to use as a soccer ball. The frail girl was forced to run barefoot after them in humiliation. Following a boy's deceitful directions, she ended up at a remote stadium where Thyme was waiting for her. Noticing how much she cared for the shoes, Thyme arrogantly pulled out a machete and, right in front of Gorya, sliced the shoes apart piece by piece. Those shoes were her birthday gift, bought by her mom after saving an entire month's worth of living expenses. Thyme didn't just humiliate her, he threw the remains away like trash. Fighting back tears, Gorya picked up the ruined shoes and painfully put them back on. But what no one expected was what happened next. Gorya launched a fierce side kick that knocked Thyme flat on his back. Everyone was stunned. She then threw herself on top of him, pinning him down. Looking up at the furious and trembling Gorya, Thyme, who had never been hit before, was completely dumbfounded. Everyone looked on in shock and fear. They were certain Gorya was done for. No one could have expected what happened next. Thyme didn't get angry. On the contrary, he looked intrigued. No one had ever dared to treat him like that. This girl was different. He brought her back to his lavish mansion, dressed her up in designer clothes, and even presented her with priceless jewelry and luxury car keys. Gorya was completely overwhelmed and confused. She couldn't figure out what kind of game Thyme was playing. He gave her a smug look, and suddenly, her entire personal history was displayed before her eyes. That only made her more anxious. Angrily, Gorya demanded to know what he wanted from her. To her astonishment, Thyme said he was deeply moved. He told her that she had successfully caught his attention and confessed that he was interested in her. He even promised that, as long as she agreed, no one would ever dare bully her again. Everything she saw, cars, jewels, the life of the elite, could be hers. Staring at Thyme talking to himself, furious, she lashed out again, calling him arrogant and delusional. She made it clear she would never like someone like him, and she would never play by his rules. Humiliated again, Thyme stood up. He couldn't believe this. Being liked by him was every girl's dream, yet Gorya was rejecting him like he was nothing. Enraged, he grabbed her arm. But before he could do anything else, Gorya landed another swift kick to his groin. A crack echoed through the room. Taking advantage of the moment, she ran. Thyme, gritting his teeth in pain, chased after her. The two began wrestling again, until his powerful and intimidating mother suddenly appeared. She coldly ordered her staff to politely escort Gorya out of the mansion. Frustrated and humiliated, Gorya stormed out, until she noticed the luxury car keys had fallen to the ground. Glancing at the sleek, gleaming vehicle nearby, she couldn't help but feel a pang of regret. Was Thyme actually serious? Could she really have become a millionaire overnight? From that moment on, her fate and Thyme's began to intertwine in the most unexpected ways.